everybody, Kathy at Northstar Prepsteader. Well, since the garden is done, now I could focus my time, energy, and attention on other things in my yard, on my homestead, that need to be ready for winter. I have to take care of my flower beds, so today's a good day for it. It's just right around freezing. We have 2 more days, about thereof, 2 or 3 more days that are going to be in the 30s Fahrenheit before we drop again, and everything will be so frozen solid that there'll be no working out here. So anyway, trying to get some other things done. On the south side of my house, I have this bed which I've just kept with flowers. In the spring, I have tulips that all come up. I just pulled a bunch of marigolds that were all in here, and I have some more yet to pull up. I also have a bunch of daylilies that were growing in here, which I just planted last fall to see how that would work, and I really didn't like them here. Of course, right now I cannot see the bulbs or anything, and this summer was so crazy I didn't get around to pulling them. So I think what's going to happen is that as they pop up next summer, I'm just going to pull them and try to replace them. I would love to put one of my lemon balms in here, give it some full sun. This big old plant, I believe it's phlox, I think. I'm not sure. In like 20 years, it's bloomed one time. Otherwise, it just is foliage like this in bushes, and it's not doing anything, not giving me any pretty flowers or anything. So I would really like to dig all that up. I think I'm going to try to do that and get that done. Over here, this area just gets shaded all summer long. So I've got some columbine in here and a few other things, and I think I'm going to try to put a couple hostas in here that enjoy the shade and can provide some perennial things. My goal is to have this all a perennial bed that blooms at different times, so that all through the spring and summer, and maybe even into the fall, I don't know, definitely the spring and summer, that I can have flowers blooming, that I don't have to come in and plant annuals every year and try to keep this up. Because honestly, doing the garden on the vegetables in the yard is plenty for me. So I'm going to keep pulling these things up, and I'll show it to you once I get it all done. These root systems are massive. I mean, look at these. They're also very invasive. The ground is already starting to freeze, and this is pretty dry, luckily. Still makes it harder to break everything up. Starting to get a little bit harder to see because of afternoon shadows. Give you an idea of what I've dug out. So I have 3 of these pots of lemon balm that I started from seed last spring, and it was my intention to just get these established in the pots and then be able to transplant them somewhere else. Well, this is a very invasive plant, and I really don't want it taking over completely. So some subscribers have told me that they, or people that they know, just left them in the pots and put them in the ground, and it did contain them well, and the plant still grew and did very well. So I've got 3 of them, and I'm going to put them all in this trench. So I dug the trench. It's at least 12 inches deep. So I think that's about what these pots are, about 12 inches. These are columbine stems here that are nice and crispy dead. So these I can just break off, kind of pull them up. I have a lot of columbine growing in here. It's very prolific. Columbine likes to replant itself a lot. So. Get this weed up here. That's got a long root. Get some of this old grass out of here. Well, there's a couple reasons I haven't gotten to this bed for a while. One is certainly that I spent so much time in the vegetable garden this year, especially with filming and trying to get stuff for you guys. The other thing is that this fall I've had so many snakes, and they love this bed because this is the south side of the house, and they sun themselves over here. So I don't really like working here when they show up all the time. I don't do well with snakes. Even though they're just garter snakes, I just don't like them. One of the things I got this year was a root. It's a bare root, I guess you could say. It's a colossal blue hosta. Can you see that? It's a colossal blue hosta. It says full to partial shade. It's almost 3 feet high. Anyway, I'm trying to get some more permanent things around here, and I thought this would be a good place to put it. So the bed is looking so much better already. So once I plant that hosta, then I'm going to cover the whole bed up with leaves. Okay, these are the roots. This is the crown. So I'm supposed to plant it up to the crown. So I have plenty of depth here. One thing I want to do is make sure that the roots are spread out a little bit so they're not crowded. Before I fill it in completely, because that's a dry root and the soil's dry, I'm going to pour in a bunch of water. I ordered this around the end of August, beginning of September, so I wanted to get it planted and established before winter, but it didn't come until about the 3rd week in October. And I'm like, oh, that's so crazy. Today is the last day of October, so I don't know if it's gonna grow or not. We will see how it does next spring. It's got water, and now I'm gonna cover it up with leaves. You can see I'm piling the leaves right on the bed, probably about 6 to 8 inches thick. Alright, I have it loaded in with leaves. Now I'm going to anchor the leaves down using my tomato stakes that I had in the garden. Oh, that feels good. Another project completed, getting ready for winter. Now, granted, we get some high winds and these leaves are gonna, I'll lose some of them. I can't cover them all unless I put a complete netting over it, but I'm not going to be that concerned about it. You might be wondering why, it's like leaves, just leave them on the ground or put them in your compost or anything. I will add those to the compost in the spring, and believe me, I've got plenty. I've only raked from 3 trees so far. The purpose of it in this bed compared to loading the leaves like this in my garden beds is that, first of all, I have this pretty full of tulips. During the winter, this side gets loaded with snow. I have a huge bank that goes up against the house here over this bed. In the spring, because this is a south-facing bed, this starts melting first. And when it melts, the soil starts to thaw out, the tulips start popping up, and so many years I've had tulips come up, this far, 3 inches, 4, 5, 6 inches, and then we have more snow and freezing weather and it kills them off. covering them with leaves like this insulates them so that they stay frozen a lot longer in the spring. And when I feel that it's time and ready, I'll pull all this off and then just compost the leaves in the spring. I have a rose bush down at the other end, and now lemon balm in here, and a couple calendula plants, as well as all the tulip bulbs and my columbine. So there are a lot of plants in here that I really don't want to get killed off. The columbine never dies off, but the other things could use to be protected. Thank you for coming along with me today and trying to find out more about how I do things, what works for me, what works in my area. You can certainly try it, see if it works for you. Since so many of you have come over and you're around my age, in my age group, we're over 29 obviously, and so anyway, there's a lot of limitations that we have physically, health-wise, a lot of times financially too. And so I just want to tell you guys that you can do it. I mean, all it takes is doing one step at a time. You know, I think of all the things that I have to do and have to get done, and it's overwhelming sometimes. If I just get out here and just do one thing a day, or just try to just pick away at it, it eventually gets done. Do have hope that you can do it. You know, some of you have said that you would love to do raised beds, but it just seems to be overwhelming to you. Just build one raised bed at a time and just get started on it. Just do a little bit. Anyway, you guys take care. God bless. Always have hope that you can do this. Bye-bye.